is episode 5 of Airin Out with Ariel with yours truly, or not. Ariel, ow. So it's been a while, I know, don't count. Uh, but I have been booked and busy. Not necessarily booked, but damn sure busy. and so the last podcast I did, I reckon, was before we had our first Goldface Family apparel photo shoot in Glendale, and I was super geeked about that, and that took a lot of time and energy making that come together. But that did exactly what I wanted it to do. And actually, it did better. It did more than what I wanted it to do. But, there's always hiccups and shit like this. However, the end goal was achieved. So I am happy. And obviously, I've been marketing and showing those photos of us modeling. Ow, our Gold Face family attire. So, check us out. Yes, let me remind you to like, friends, please, and thank you. Subscribe, comment. Uh, what I said, like helpful. Add some shit. Remember on my first podcast, I told you don't be a subtractor. Add some shit. So if you're gonna comment, be an additive. Add something helpful. Okay, and follow. Hello. I mean, why not? Because you ain't doing shit else, right? On our YouTube, which is where you probably gonna check this out at, or IG. On YouTube, it's Goldface Family. On IG, it's Goldface Family Apparel. On our Twitter, it is Goldface Family 1 with the number 1, not the word 1. Okay? On Facebook, it's going to be Goldface Family. And our Facebook is new because I actually did that not too long ago. Not a fan of Facebook, I ain't gonna lie. But we on there. And our website, goldfacefamily.com. So check us out there so that you can see the newest apparel that we have, and any other promotions usually that we're doing will be on there, or IG, Twitter for sure as well. So please go and check us out there. So this is the episode. This is our business episode, like I said. And I meant to do this in December because I wanted to do a podcast in December before the end of the year. But like I said, I was just stupid busy, just keeping Goldface Family, just, moving forward and keeping things going and stuff like that. So it's a lot of energy in that goes into that. So it takes quite a bit of my time because, I don't like to just do shit however I like. I'm very picky. I'm picky as fuck. So it takes some time. So this took me a bit of time, and business as a whole is just a very comprehensive topic that obviously I'm not finna sit here and tell y'all every fucking thing that you could possibly know, because I don't know everything there is to possibly know. But what I do know is a little bit of shit, and I'm gonna share some of those things. So some of the things that I don't have fucking time to even cover, but are very important things that you should consider, as from the 3 perspectives that I will discuss. Which business perspectives, you want to think about being an owner, or from an owner perspective, from an employee perspective, and from a consumer perspective. So all the topics that we won't be able to cover, if you are a business owner, all of us are consumers. Or if you're an employee, then you can kind of think of, all these different sort of appendages that all are attached to the one body of business. And some of those things that I will not be able to tackle will be like finances, as far as your banking, where you get capital from, funding, and budgeting. Those are all things that have to do with finance, that from a business owner, employer, consumer perspective may or may not be applicable to you. But those are just some finance topics that I won't be able to cover, but are definitely financing is damn near the heart of your business, at least to begin with, because if you ain't got no money to start something, you better have some damn talent to draw in some money. And so then another part of that is marketing, merchandise, web platforms, inventory, sales, shipping, hell, receiving, because sometimes you'll get a damn return. So receiving will be something that you will have to do. And branding. Branding is like, that shit is extremely important because that's to me, that's how people identify with you or your product, right? So either you have some kind of slogan or you have some type of symbol, but that's how I kind of think of branding as, if I don't see their company's name, do I see your symbol? And if I don't see your symbol, do I see your company name? Like, there has to be one or the other. Otherwise, there's nothing that really sets you apart from somebody else, as far as I'm concerned. Um, Man, so there was just a lot. Business types. I I think about business types, and by business types, I mean like a corporation, which has like, maybe sometimes tens of thousands of people working for them, versus like a small business that may have between 1 and like 99 employees, which, people may say, oh, 99 employees is a lot. But if you think about if a person had 99 employees and they were spread over all 50 states, technically they would have really only have an average of like 2 people in every state. And that's really, if you thought about it in that context, it's really not a big business if you could only have 2 people in the entire state, in all 50 states, pushing your product. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, 1 to 99 employees, or even 100 employees, is damn sure a small business. Because let's keep it real, if you own your own small business and you're the only one, or it's you and your man, or you and your son, or you and your daughter, you and your, who the hell cares, you and your sister. Bottom line is, the difference between you two being able to put some shit together and somebody that has 49 other people on their team to make some shit happen somewhere else. So, as a business owner, and sometimes even as an employee of a small business, the difference between, what it means to have 49 employees versus 490 employees if you've worked for a small business and for a large business. So, those are just a few of the things that I won't be able to cover in depth, but I thought were really significant and important to mention as far as business goes. So when I thought about this topic, the one thing I thought of was like, what the hell are my values in business? And how does that affect how I go about my business, but also how it affects how I go about being a consumer? And so those things that I valued in business would be quality, originality, messaging, and popularity. I'm big on quality because I'm a very parsimonious person. If you don't know what that means, Google the shit. Hopefully you can spell it. If not, Google will help you, I'm sure. But parsimonious, I'm very conservative. And by that I mean, if it's not necessary, I'm not fucking with it. Like, I don't buy bullshit just to have bullshit. I'm not going to buy a product just because everybody else is buying that shit. I like quality because I value my dollar. And by that I mean, if you're charging an enormous amount for something, then it better hold up like it's supposed to, right? Am I going to get sort of the bang for my buck, if that makes any sense, right? If I spend this much money, when I'm spending a large amount of money on something, I think of it, is this shit, what's the life cycle of this? So if it's $200, is this going to last me 3-4 years? Because then I'm doing math in my mind, like, okay, over this period of time, this is what this is costing me. Is this worth it? Or could I pay less for this other product? And if the shit isn't gonna last a long time, then I might as well pay less money for it than pay a whole bunch of money and still not have some shit, you know, several years or months down the road. So quality is something that is damn near the first thing that comes to my mind. And obviously, if you have little kids, hopefully quality is important to you, right? Like when you buy your kids clothes and toys and shit and shoes and even diapers. Diapers is probably the first thing that I was like, okay, you gotta buy not even quality diapers, but you have to buy, no, I won't say you have to buy quality diapers. But that doesn't always mean that those are the name brand, the popular brand. Make no fucking mistake. If you're a sound parent, you have probably tried multiple brands of some shit to hopefully to test them up against each other. And so that was probably one thing that I learned very quick as from a consumer perspective was as a mom when it came to fucking diapers. And I was like, damn, you can get these name brand diapers and they're fucking trash. And I can go and get these other, diapers from this other wholesale store damn near, and they're gonna hold up much better, right? And they cost me a fraction of the fucking price. I may be able to save $5 or $8 a box, and when your ass is, paying for diapers, $5 and $8 a box makes a damn difference. So quality is absolutely a must to me, especially because I value my dollar and I don't like parting with my money. Originality probably mattered less to me until probably like 11 years ago, maybe 10, I'd say maybe 12 years ago. Originality in what I buy meant more to me than ever before, because I got into the industry of being purchasing and inventory. And when you look at sort of a mass produced product versus something that somebody actually laid their hands on and put sweat and blood literally and just effort and thought into, it matters so much more, and you really do value those, hopefully. But for me especially, I value those things more than something that's mass produced, something that everybody can touch. I'm not interested in that. But something that I feel like there's only a select few that will have the opportunity to have something that meaningful or special, to me, that means more than having something that every motherfucking body can get. And I don't give a fuck if just because something costs a lot of money doesn't mean that there's not a lot of people that have had their hands on it. I would much rather something that necessarily didn't cost a lot of money, but a lot of people just don't see the value in because they can't appreciate something that wasn't a mass production. So originality became really important to me probably 12 years ago. And I like different shit. I like shit that, is kind of off, right? That everybody else would be like, oh, I don't really know. I'm kind of like, well, yeah, I like that because it's not like all this other bullshit that you already see. So I just take that, I take that originality, and I feel like that's extremely important to set you apart from everybody else on the shelf, right? If there's 50 of y'all in a room, how do you separate yourself from the 49 others? And that means you need to appear different than the 49 others. The other thing that I mentioned as far as values was messaging, directly or indirectly. And that's extremely important to me because that comes to relatability. Can I relate to your product? What message are you sending me from your product? If I don't know what the fuck you're selling, like one thing I notice is when I go through Twitter sometimes, or when I go through Instagram and I'm looking at other people's product, I guess, right? I can only assume what they're selling because sometimes it just looks like they're selling themselves. And sometimes it appears as if they're trying to sell a product. But that's something that as a consumer, I think about, but it's also something I think about as a business owner. Like, damn, am I doing the same thing? Are people confused as fuck about what it is I'm trying to do with Gold Faith Family Apparel? Like, are people confused? But then I feel like I think I make it, pretty clear, but then I look at other people's shit and it's like, well, okay, I think she's selling this, but what I keep seeing is this. So I don't know what, this individual's intentions are. So that's kind of messaging. It's also relatability. Like when you are doing your marketing and things like that, can I look at that and tell that you're marketing to me? Are you trying to make it ambiguous so that it's to everybody? Um, or are you being really crystal clear about, who your target market is? But that also determines whether or not I'm fucking with your product, right? Is if are you speaking to me? Can I relate to this? Do I see myself in this or not? And that's extremely important to me as a business owner. Is the message that I'm projecting to my target market? I want them to see themselves in that marketing, right? And that's my intention. That's my every intention is for my target customer, a goal face individual. I want those individuals to see themselves in my brand, to see themselves in my marketing, because that's who I'm marketing to. So indirectly or directly, whether I say it out of my mouth or whether I type it up very clearly and I make clear communication what it is, I also make sure that I also show you what it is, because I don't want there to be any mistake, any confusion about what it is that I'm saying to you, or the message that I'm attempting to portray to my client, or to potential clients or potential customers, about what is absolutely important about the brand and what the brand stands for and what the brand means, and also what it doesn't mean, what it doesn't stand for, what it's not about. Those are all important. And lastly, values that I place in business was popularity. It's good and bad. Popularity will have your shit selling off the shelves, even if it has no message, even if its message isn't directed to the people that'll go buy the shit up like hotcakes. Popularity will have your shit sell for no other reason but because somebody popular plugged it, or because that type of, I don't even want to say branding, that type of product is a popular one, right? So, popularity has a lot to do with your business, and it has a lot to do in some ways, right? And popularity can be subjective, right? Because what's popular to me is not necessarily what's considered popular to another person. So just always take that shit into consideration. What something is to me, or even what something is to people like me, is not what the hell it is to other individuals. So I give that, you give that shit as much energy as you can. That's why I don't look at sort of what people consider luxury brands and then my brand, because I think about a bigger, more comprehensive picture of what does that shit even stand for? What does that even mean? What does that mean to us? Is there anybody over there that looks like us? Are they marketing to us, or are they marketing to others, and we just eat that shit up too? So popularity is something that you should think about, but don't give that shit more energy than what it's worth, because we all know there's a whole lot of shit that's popular that your ass would not engage in doing. So don't look at popular and think, okay, well, that's popular, so I should do that, or I could do that. Fuck that. And guess what? Before some shit was popular, what was it? It wasn't. So just because you got something that ain't popping now, don't mean it won't be popping, next month, next season, 2 seasons from now, a year or two from now. Fuck what everybody else doing, do you. That I will say, friends. And so, beyond business, so the next thing I wanted to speak about was what I mentioned earlier, which was business perspectives, which is from that owner, employer, consumer perspective. Like I said, we're all consumers. You all go out and you purchase shit. Some of y'all probably steal some shit. The bottom line is we all consume something. Your ass is consuming air right now, right? You consuming water, you consuming electricity. Damn sure if you're on the phone, you consuming some electricity somewhere. And so we're all consumers. So from a business perspective, when I as a consumer, I also, when I think about quality, like I mentioned before, when I think about cost of things, I before I got into, inventory and buying and purchasing, I couldn't appreciate cost, the cost of shit and retail, the retail of shit. I mean, sure, I had, my first job that I was a solicitor, and I sold newspaper subscriptions, right? But that was very just, it was disconnected. I couldn't tell you how much a motherfucking paper cost. But we were damn sure selling it, obviously, to hopefully make them a profit, right? This is back when people actually read newspaper. But my first sales job was at Nordstrom when I worked at Nordstrom as a teenager. And even in there, I didn't see cost, but you absolutely see retail clearly. And so from that perspective, it was just like, there's a lot of this and it's really high price. But then you're also seeing when prices get cut and you think to yourself, well, if you could afford to sell it for less, why the fuck you just didn't start there? So that was kind of, my first sort of intro into really business and kind of looking at things like, what the fuck is really going on? But it wasn't until I got into being a purchaser and inventory manager, so to speak, that I could see the front and the back of shit, right? You see the back, what things cost, the shipping, all that. You see that on the back end, and then you see the retail, and it's like, oh shit. It really makes you reconsider how you, how you view business from an employee perspective, from a consumer perspective, and then if you ever own your own business, definitely from an owner perspective, because you are paying a cost, you're paying shipping, and then you're also determining what that price up margin will be for you to have a profit in that. So everything sort of came full circle when I started this business I'm still a consumer, right? I consume even as a business owner. This isn't my first business, but more so in this business than any of my others, I see that large disconnect from owner to consumer. But I can appreciate those things too, especially because I'm a conservative person. I appreciate, the business owner perspective of upcharging. And I appreciate as a consumer saying, okay, well, there needs to be quality behind that, that retail price. But then as an employee, which as an owner, you can also be a fucking employee, right? You working for the company. I can also appreciate that position of sort of bridging that gap between owner and consumer, because as an employee, sometimes both ends of the spectrum. So when somebody in whatever business you're in, when somebody likes to finagle or feel some type of way about what you're charging, when you have the knowledge of cost and shipping and it's not, and make no mistake, as a consumer, I've also learned this. Everything that goes into somebody's business is not just cost, and a damn sure ain't just shipping. It's thought, it's creativity, it's originality, it's the time, it's the effort, it's the redraft, it's the edit, it's the over and over and over again that somebody has to put into that one product that also drives someone's cost, right? My cost is not just, putting that thing together. It's all the energy and all the thought that had to go into that one individual product. And even if I duplicate that thing, there's still thought that has to go into how I duplicate that product to make it still appealing in every way that it's duplicated. And that's not, it just doesn't happen. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes thought, it takes creativity, because most people don't just want to put out whatever. Hopefully, right? They're putting some real thought behind what they want to put out. So when I talk about business, I want you to just sort of keep those perspectives in your mind: a consumer perspective as you, the consumer, an employee, because most of y'all are employees. Even if you work for yourself, you're an employee of your business, right? In an owner perspective, again, if you own your business, it's your shit. So think about it from an owner perspective. And even if you don't own your own business now, there may be a time when you do. So just be mindful of how you feel as a consumer, how you felt as an employee, and then now your position as a business owner, and move like you can appreciate each of those positions. Because I feel like if you move like you appreciate all those positions, then you're more likely to create a product for your customers that they'll appreciate, but then you'll also be more willing to stand on 10 toes behind your product, because you ain't just gonna give them shit because you know that's not what the fuck you like to go out and pick up, right? Unless you're a trash person, but that's another cast. It's another podcast. So the pros and the cons of each perspective. Again, if you are a business owner, you know the good and bad about being a business owner. You run shit. When somebody want to talk to the boss, that's you. When they want to bitch and moan, that's you. When somebody got to make a hard decision, that's you. That's the pro. Those can also be cons too, right? Somebody want to bitch and moan, it's you. They want to bitch and moan too. When something ain't going right, it's your damn fault and it's your damn problem, and you gonna have to fix it. If there's something to be had, you gonna have to get it. If something ain't right, you gonna have to fix it. That can be a lot of pressure as the owner, but there's pros and cons to that, right? Being able to be the one that makes the decisions, I feel like it's a pro. But it can also be a con, because if some shit don't work out, who the hell is there looking around at the room at? You. And that's it. So, it's really all about how you take your decisions, right? Because you can see something as a failure, you can see something as a lesson. Like, did I fail? Maybe, right? But did I learn not to and do that again? Yes. That's the end goal, is to not fucking make the same mistakes, to learn, to see signs, to recognize signs and red flags and shit like that, and say, this other person was kind of moving like that, or this other person was saying that same old kind of shit, or didn't you you were circling back around the donut hole that we already visited in the past, and you weren't about that life. So no, it's about learning from your mistakes so that you don't engage in them again, and then you don't lose time and money and energy on some shit that was going nowhere fast. And hopefully you learn those lessons early on, and they don't cost you a whole lot. Period. And make the least costliest mistakes that you can, and make them early, so that when you go in and your shit get in motion, that dumb shit don't trip you up. Consumer, pros and cons of consumer. I say the pros of a consumer is just that you get what the fuck it is you want, right? Hopefully. But the cons of it is sometimes you don't know what the fuck you're getting. That could be from your food to the water that you drink that come out your faucet, to the water that your ass buy in a bottle. As a consumer, you trust that the individuals giving you it is giving you what they claim that they're giving you, and not just some shit that they done cooked up in the basement, unless you buy some basement cooked up shit. But when you go and you run your water in the sink, hopefully most of y'all are intending to get some clear water. But from a consumer perspective, the con of that is you don't know what's in that water. Like, unless you're some kind of whoever, right? You don't necessarily know what you're getting. You just you can only assume, you hope, and you trust that this business is giving you what it is that they proclaim that they're giving you, or it's what they proclaim that they're selling you. So I think there's a lot of pros as a consumer, and another pro as a consumer is options, right? We all know when you go into the grocery store, and one thing I seen the other day was like bread. Like, how many fucking kinds of bread? Like, literally. And I never even thought about that until I get to the bread aisle, and it's just like, damn, I want some quality bread. But then you got to look through all these other bullshit brands of bread before you can even find the bread you want. But then that still comes to, like, it's the same thing with your product, or if you have a product, or the service you're providing. If there's 100 motherfucking people that provide that service, why the fuck does somebody pick you over those other ones, or what would make them pick you over the other ones. And one thing I thought of yesterday that I mentioned in a longer podcast that I didn't post was the only time I think that people don't give a shit about what the quality of your product is versus the other products is when there are no choices. Like a pandemic situation. My example was toilet paper. Nobody gave a fuck about the quality of the toilet paper when there was no fucking toilet paper on the shelf. You know why? Because you just wanted something to wipe your ass. So the bottom line is you was going to take that dollar store, school, work, one ply fucking toilet paper for no other reason but because you wanted fucking toilet paper. Not because you liked it, but because there wasn't shit else. And so unless there's plenty of markets where you're the only motherfucker doing that. And I don't mean like you're the only bitch that makes bracelets. No, I mean you may be the only motherfucker around you that does what you do. So it makes it easy for you to do what you do. But if and that's an easy situation for you to capture a whole market. But the other part of, just being chosen just because would be when there are no other options on the shelf and this is all that's left. So you gonna take it because you know that you just need it. Like you don't get, if it fall apart in your hand, you don't care because you want it, or you don't want to be without, put it that way. So that's one thing that I thought about is like, extremely important as a pro and a con of a consumer is that you have options, but the con is that sometimes you don't know what you're getting, or sometimes you don't have no choice but to get that because it's the only thing, there for you. So be mindful of those situations and how much you really give a fuck about a name brand or about a look or any of that. When it's a desperate situation, how often that branding and the look and all and all that bullshit, how much that really matters to you when shit hits the fan and you have, no choice. Your two choices are one ply, right? And so which one ply brand do you want? You don't give a fuck about the brand. At that point, you're just getting something. So when you go down to the fucking toilet paper aisle now and you're looking at this $8, package of toilet paper where you get fucking 4 rolls for $8, and you looking at this other toilet paper that costs $5 and you get 24 rolls, you're gonna be like, well, before we were just fine with this shitty toilet paper, so let's go ahead and save a couple of dollars. Hell yeah. Okay. Sometimes you gotta cut out the bullshit, friends. Wash your hands. Teachable fucking moments. Oh my gosh. So I'm super duper independent, and I got a job when I was 14 because I didn't want to have to ask my mom for lunch money. No other reason. Literally, that's what I told myself. I'm tired of asking her for fucking money in the morning time. I'm getting a fucking job so I don't have to ask her for shit. And so when I get my paycheck, I'm going and I'm buying whatever I want to, and I'm not hearing nothing out of nobody because this is my motherfucking coins. And that's exactly what I did. As soon as I turned 14, I went and got that funky ass job at Anchorage Daily News selling newspaper subscriptions. And that was my very first fucking job. And a lot of teachable moments from there. Mainly, don't get snatched up and murdered. But it also taught me, rejection. As like a 14-year-old, people tell you to fuck off. They don't care. They don't want that bullshit. Bye. So I learned rejection for real. But I also learned that some people will just be really kind to you and buy some shit they don't need just because they're kind. So that was my first job, and definitely learned a lot about getting out of my comfort zone. I think I was a lot less introverted then than I am now. So that allowed me to be more just like, free and comfortable and just, walk up to somebody's shit and, what to do, but now it's like, nah. And not necessarily like overall, just not for certain shit. I'm just not gonna do it, right? But at 14, I didn't give a fuck. It was just I'm gonna get these money, I'm gonna get these coins, and that's it. That's why that was my selfish concern at 14. Was I just want to make some fucking money. But the main things that I learned from teachable moments from past business engagements were mainly from my positions as an employee of someone else's company. And one thing that I noticed about myself and what I learned early on is when you work for small companies, you're more valued than what you are when you work for a large company. And those are just the facts. When you have somebody that has a small business and there's only like 12 to 20 people working for them, and you work for a company like that, and then you go and you work for like an insurance company where there's 5,000 people working there, you are insignificant, period. You are insignificant when somebody has 10, 12,000 people working for them, because guess what? There's 200 motherfuckers that do what you do. But when you work in a business where there's 12 people, you the only motherfucker doing what you do. Likely, you are the only person that does what you do. And so the way people interact with you, how much they rely on you, how much they put on your shoulders is a lot more, because there's only one person doing that. You're the only person doing that. You're the only person that has that skill. You're the only person that knows what needs to be done in that position. So I love a small business only because I love for a motherfucker to recognize my value. Because I know working for a large company, motherfuckers don't value you. They don't see you. They just see you're like a fucking ant. You know what I mean? And when you work for a small business, you're like a family. They don't got no fucking choice but to deal with you. And so I have that preference just for me, because I like to be appreciated for what I bring to the table. I'm not a poo putt, and I don't want somebody to treat me. And naturally, because of what I look like, there's going to be a certain level of disrespect that's just going to be put on you. You know what I'm saying? And a level of discounting that you're going to get, that I'm going to get, just based on the way that I look. So because I know that shit, I'm not gonna go somewhere where it's a whole bunch of motherfuckers and I know I'm be on the bottom of the totem pole and they're gonna be treating me like that. Not because that's what my past says, but because this is enough for them to see, to say, let's discount that, period. And that ain't what the fuck I say, that's what your ass know, because you either seen it or you read it or you experienced it. Them is the facts. So I like to be appreciated and recognized for what the fuck I bring to the table. And that's not to say that at small companies that there's always that appreciation, because in small companies you can have people not see the value of the asset that they have in you, and guess what? They lose real motherfucking fast, and they find out real quick that they should have fucked with a winner. I mean, them is also the facts. But so the business, my teachable moments that I remember the most and that I always sort of reflect on when I consider my business, when I consider other people's business, when I look at other people's businesses, when I see other things that people are saying about people's businesses, how I decide whose business I do or don't do business with, how I collaborate with them or will not collaborate with them, has a lot to do with what I see, how I see you move, and then also how I see other people interact with you and what that's like. And so one thing that I've learned that I like people, that I would like individuals to know about, is harassment. That's one thing that I feel like I've probably experienced on, or at, I could say 90% of the jobs that I've ever worked at, there's been some level of harassment, sexual harassment, I won't say racial harassment, because no one's, I don't recall everybody outright calling me any racial slur, but racially motivated, or racially motivated sanctionings, racially motivated refusal to promote or refusal to advance, or sexist type of harassment where males will be allowed to speak in a very nasty and disrespectful way about women or to women, and there's no sanctions. And I can say that every job that I've been to where there has been a race, like, no, I won't say race, a sexist, something that has been withheld or given in advance to someone else that's related to, um, I would say, my ethnic background versus theirs, or my time on the job versus theirs, um, or even sexual harassment. Every single time I've witnessed, and even just straight ass harassment, like somebody just saying some really nasty, foul fucking shit in writing. Um, Not one, not ever have I witnessed those things, and ever also um, has an individual been punished. Every single time I have experienced that myself or know about it from somebody else's behaviors, not one time has anybody ever been sanctioned for that. So I think about that often when I think about businesses, when I look at what an employee has to say about a business, when I look at what an owner has to say about their employees, when I look at how an owner interacts with their customers, which customers they interact with, um, what does their customer constantly look like? What the hell does all their employees look like? What does their executives look like? I take all those things into consideration, and mainly because I know that there is a lot of times where businesses, big and small, will do foul, sometimes illegal shit, and nobody will ever say nothing. Not the employee who experienced it, not the employer who's doing the shit. Obviously, they don't have an interest in exposing themselves. Um, but there's a level of, I'd say secrecy and just intimidation, um, that allows businesses to act in those ways and keep people like me or other people, from really airing those motherfuckers out, about their shit. I'll say this. I don't like to, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Those are the facts. And who you are ultimately will be revealed. How you move and how you interact is and should be. Sometimes it's evident, and if to nobody else, the people on the inside of that, in the inside of the organization. And sometimes that means nothing, and sometimes it means a lot. It puts those other people on notice, like, well, if they'll do this to this person, they'll do that shit to you. So then it allows you to put into your head, like, is this business or this company everything that it claims that it is? But then, it also, when nobody airs shit out, then it emboldens and it reinforces a company's bad position or terrible positioning about how to treat individuals who've been sexually harassed or who are just being harassed, period, or, who may be, being bullied or what the fuck ever on the job, right? Or even people that are being, denied or refused, promotions, for one reason or the other. All those things, afflict everyone in the company. But when companies are allowed to behave in what I would say an inappropriate manner, and there's nobody airing this shit out, then it just emboldens them because they feel like, well, shit, we did it before and nobody says shit, so we could just keep doing that shit. Ain't nobody gonna check us. And guess what? It's true. People don't keep doing the wrong shit because they're being checked. People keep doing the wrong shit because there's no sanctions for doing the wrong shit. But I will say this, again, from a consumer perspective, I make it my business to look up shit. When I'm going to a business in my community, I want to look at your reviews. And I don't look to see what's the best thing somebody said about you. You know what I want to know? It's just like I think about a man. What's the worst fucking thing a motherfucker could say about you? Because if the worst thing somebody gonna say is, oh, he farts, he got bad breath. If that's the worst thing somebody could say about you, that ain't shit, right? The same thing about a business. If somebody's like, oh, well, my pizza was cold, the delivery driver delivered it late. If you're not saying there was a roach on my pizza, I never got my shit, they took my money and I never got shit, if that's not what you're saying, I don't give a fuck about that other bullshit. You'll live, right? To me, is when somebody said they're gonna do something and they don't do that shit. When somebody is promising X and they give your ass A, that's a problem for me. Period. Those are the problems for me. So when I interact, even if I'm looking for a business to collaborate with, I want to know what's the worst thing somebody can say about you. You know, even if they're like, oh, she was rude, or he was rude, or they had an attitude, or whatever. Okay, well, first of all, you probably had a fucking attitude too, and second of all, what the fuck didn't you get that you were supposed to? Ultimately, did somebody take something from you and not give it back, and you didn't get shit, or are you just bitching and moaning because you didn't have what the fuck you wanted when the fuck you wanted it? You know, some shit I look at from, I'm looking at it as a consumer, but I'm thinking of it from an owner perspective and how petty as fuck people are, because people are petty. So take when I'm looking for the worst thing somebody can say about you, I'm also looking to see if it's some petty thing or if it's really a problem with you, a problem with you and your business and how you move and shit like that. So um those are all important. Promotions is something that I mentioned. I've learned a lot of things about promotions, who will and who won't get promoted, whether you actually have to do anything to get promoted. And that really all has to do with what company you work for, right? A large company, a large organization, you might actually have to, take some steps. But in a small organization where there's a handful or two handfuls of people, it may be a lot more or a lot less formal about how you go about getting promoted. But make no mistake, even when you're working in a small company, still pay attention to who the hell is being promoted and how often they're being promoted and what does that promotion look like, right? Because not always does a promotion mean more money. Sometimes it could just mean more responsibility. Educational opportunities. This is something that I've also learned, whether it's being at an employer who um, was supportive of me advancing my educational opportunities, which I was extremely lucky for in Alaska, or whether it's an employer that doesn't even give a fuck if you would take a course or a class that would help you and give you knowledge in your position. There's some organizations that don't care. They don't care. They don't. Even if you would be going to school and getting something, taking a class or two or a course or two or three that would help you in your position, they're not interested in you doing that, and they're less interested in paying for it, period. Because one reason is because if they keep you dumbed down, then they can dumb down that money, right? The more you know, the more that your ass can go and ask for. But if they keep your dumb ass dumb, then they keep paying you like you dumb. As simple as that, right? If you get more skills, if you got more certificates, you got more diplomas, you got more degrees, guess the fuck what? You worth more money. So ask for it. And if they don't want you to get that shit, guess what? That's because they don't want to fucking pay you. And that should be your sign that they ain't where the fuck you need to be. If your employer don't want you to be better, that ain't the fucking employer for you. Negotiations. Negotiate. Don't go into negotiation with your bottom line, right? If you need $65,000 a year, don't go in there and be like, I want $65,000 right now, right now. I say this, be flexible in what you need. Because a person may say, okay, well, I can give you 63 and then I can pay you bonuses based on X, right? Be flexible. Be flexible, because I negotiated after I graduated from college. I negotiated the first time I had ever negotiated a salary, and it was so motherfucking empowering. I mean, when I got that degree, a bitch acted like she had graduated from law school. You feel me? I mean, I had a fucking undergraduate degree, and I thought my shit didn't stink. Okay, like for real. And to be perfectly honest, if you fucking got your degree the way I did, you would feel the fucking same. I mean, that shit ain't easy. Doing everything I was doing at the time, that shit was incredible. And I mean, it was incredible. So I definitely felt like um, everything that I had worked for and accomplished was absolutely worth me requesting more money, without a doubt. And it was very empowering, mainly because I knew I was worth it. But then also, it was like when he countered, it was like, okay, well, he takes me seriously. He takes me seriously. He's not saying, fuck you, fuck off, we're not giving you anything. It's like, well, shit. I mean, I see you, so let's get it. Let's negotiate. And boom, happiness. It don't always work out that way because I've asked to even have conversations about promotions, and I've been told you have to wait your turn to have a promotion. But then I'll watch another motherfucker who been there a fraction of the time get promoted twice. So, I mean, like I said, that's why I said pay attention to who gets promoted and how fast they get promoted around you, because all that shit matters. If other people who ain't shit is moving up and you ain't, you need to reevaluate what the fuck you doing. Or at least reevaluate what the fuck you doing there. And bust a move. I always encourage people, bust a motherfucking move. And that goes to my next point of teachable moments is relocation and growth. I've been coast to coast, and I'm glad and I'm proud of myself. One, because I learned very quickly that in Alaska I could be the cream of the crop, but you go down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and you ain't shit. And them is the facts. Your 1 degree don't mean shit because everybody down there, damn near everybody got 2 degrees. So your 1 degree don't mean shit when everybody got 2 degrees and some of them got a master's and a bachelor's. What you want to do, So the cream of the crop that you may be in your hometown or where you at, you could take that shit on another coast and you're a basic Betty. You know what I'm saying? You basic a Ben. You ain't shit is the point. So, but it also taught me I got to be more competitive, right? I got to set myself apart. I have to advance myself. I have to make myself better. I have to make myself more marketable, even if I'm the dookie and I know that. How the hell can I communicate that when there's 1,000 other people that also feel like they're the dookie as well? Period. Right. So, relocation, I say, because most of us are neo-local. We are not living in the same city and state which we were born in. And so you've already, relocated. So I also look at relocation as an opportunity to make money. I like to go where I feel like it's popping, where I feel like it's growing, where I feel like things are keeping in motion. I don't like sitting still. I don't like things to be stagnant, right? Stagnant ain't good. If stagnant shit ain't good. And so I like to go where I feel like there are opportunities. And that's why I've been sort of part of the reason why I've been coast to coast. Just because I like to go where I feel like there's an opportunity. And I like to also go where I feel like there's people that look like me because, believe it or not, when you go to a place where a lot of people look like you, the kind of opportunities that you get and what those opportunities feel like are so much motherfucking different. I never seen as many people that look like me work in one place until I went to North Carolina, and it was like everybody in here. It's like being in Alaska, where when you go to work, everybody around you is going to be white-ish or native, Pacific Islander, whatever. But when I went to North Carolina, everybody that I worked around looked like me. It was like 90% of the people looked like me, and it was like, damn, this feels different. It feels different to work around a bunch of people that look like you. And if you're a Caucasian person, you probably don't even think about that because you're so used to that just being the fucking status quo. But when you're a gold person and you come from a small town like I did, when that's never likely ever going to be what the fuck you see any place you go. So seeing and experiencing that in North Carolina, it felt so good. And it's such a different energy. It really fucking is. For me, it was such a different energy because you feel like that's where the fuck you're supposed to be. And I just mean, you're not You don't feel like you have to put on because there's people that don't look like you. It just felt like everything was. It just felt right. It felt good. That's the fuck all I can say. Is just it felt so much more comfortable to work around a bunch of people that look like me. And I'm not talking about a poop hut job. I'm talking about a job where people were really esteemed and extremely educated and very smart and had plenty of, money and resources to work with. And even that was different for me because no other job that I had been with, first of all, was there any that kind of money fucking being, played around with, but definitely absolutely never seen people of color in control of that kind of money. And it was really nice. It was really nice. I really enjoyed that experience and I learned a ton from there. And but the main thing it taught me was how different it feels to work around people that look like you. And then when I moved to Austin and I worked around 99% people that didn't look like me, every single fucking day I was sick to my stomach. And I mean this shit. I was sick to my stomach. I was physically sick to my stomach. Every single fucking day I felt sick. I felt sick walking into work. My stomach hurt the entire fucking day I was at work. Every single day. And it's not because I was the only person that looked like me. It's because of the way I felt being there. And so it feels different to be there. So I'm glad that I had experienced both things. I'm glad that I experienced being from a small town and going to this big, huge fucking city. I've been to like 4 or 5 big ass cities, just placing myself there and making shit happen. But being there and seeing how shit was in North Carolina and then coming to Austin and seeing how shit was there, it was literally the complete fucking opposite. And how I felt was the complete opposite. And so that is one thing that I learned that I will never fucking forget is how much different it felt to work around people that look like me versus working around people that don't look like me. And also how you're treated, how you're promoted, how people assess your worth. All those things were starkly different from each other. And in some ways I could maybe attribute it to size of business or money, but quite frankly, no, because both of those companies were small. And I can guarantee you this, the one that I worked in Austin that was small had hundreds of million more dollars than the small one that I worked for in North Carolina. And the energy again in North Carolina was so much better than the one that had, fewer employees and more money. They just, a lot of shit makes a lot of difference. And if you're a business owner, if you're a consumer, if you're an employee, be mindful, just be more mindful and intentional. Pay attention to how, when you walk into a business, pay attention to who works there, right? And not just that day, right? Because when you walk into the store, when I walk into certain stores, I don't see the same people working there. So, I don't know if it's turnover or if this just ain't their shift. But I also pay attention to who I don't see working in there, right? Do I ever see a guy in here? Do I ever see a female in here? Do I ever see a female that looks like me in here? And sometimes that shit determines whether or not I'm coming the fuck back, period. If I can't relate, if I don't see somebody that looks like me ever, that tells me that this isn't for me, period. And they're saying it every time I come in here. This shit isn't for you. And I can take a fucking hint. Eventually, I'll catch a hint, okay? And I'll be like, all right, it's cool. I can go some fucking where else and get the same shit or get something better where somebody like me is gonna appreciate what the fuck is coming through the front door. So, don't ever be afraid to relocate. Don't ever be afraid. A lot of people be like, oh, you're so bold. You're so brave. No, the fuck I'm not. I just need to I need to keep it moving. I'm not brave because I moved from 2, 3. That shit isn't brave. I don't got a bunch of money. I'm not brave. What I am or what I'm not is going to be trapped. That's what the fuck I'm not. So it's not that I move because I'm brave. It's I move because I'm not going to be trapped. I'm not going to be somewhere where somebody keep me in a fucking box. That's not healthy for me. And eventually it ain't going to be healthy for them because shit going to erupt. And so, don't ever be scared to take you and your shit somewhere else and looking for what you want, period. Because sometimes you got to. Sometimes you got to pack up your shit and go somewhere else to get what the fuck it is you need to get. Collaborations is one of my big biggies. And I've learned about how important collaboration is probably more in the last, I don't know, 3 months than I ever really could appreciate. I love collaborating with people. It allows me to plug them because usually I really fuck with what they're doing. And I love to support other people that are doing something on their own, that are doing something that nobody else wants to do, that are really trying to come up out of, the mud, or really just trying to fucking bubble. I really like that shit. I love a motherfucking hustler, because all that shit takes energy, and collaborations are important, right? To plug yourself, but also to plug somebody else. Because guess what? Sometimes that other person may, they may get on top before you do, and you collaborating with them may be your way to level up, right? So collaborations are extremely important, and it's something that I want to do more of. Anytime I meet somebody new and I have the opportunity to fuck with them and what they're doing and have them plug me, it feels good because it tells me that another motherfucker believes in my shit enough to at least shout me out. Like, I appreciate all that shit. So collaborations are extremely important. And I'll say this, collaborations can be with other businesses, period. Influencers, if you know them, athletes, if you can get a hold of them, celebrities, the same thing, new faces, people that are just new. And I say new because they're not well known. They're not new because they just got on the planet. They're new because they're not, they're not popular, so to speak. But it's also an excellent way for them to put theirself out and for you to show something new and fresh that, hasn't really gotten the recognition that it should. Podcasts, interviews are a good way, whether it's a magazine or radio, any of that. Those are all excellent opportunities for you to plug yourself, for you to plug your brand, for you to plug somebody else's brand. Those are excellent opportunity collaborations. If you know somebody, at least a try to get put on. Fashion shows, that's a good one. If you can get in, do that as well. Salons and barbers, only because people go. That's constant, right? Some people more than others, but that's definitely something that's constant, and I think that's an excellent way to collaborate, because barbers and salons, I feel like they come in contact with a lot of people. They're normal, but then also just people that just happen to find them that need some quick, fast, in a hurry type shit. And if you're doing a collaboration, whether it's your product in their store or your sign out, it's a quick, easy plug. Musical artists, only because I know maybe a handful. And so those are excellent opportunities to collaborate because people like music with anything. I don't give a fuck if you're doing a cooking video, if you're doing a twerk video, people want to hear the music. So, collaborating with musical artists is an excellent way to push your product, but also to get them plays. So that definitely is a win-win if you know somebody. Okay, so another thing, like I said, that I wanted to just reiterate as I wrap up, again, the important things that I think about when I think about business, and values in business, quality. Like I said, the life cycle of something. How long is something going to last? How long is it going to live? What's the lifetime am I going to get out of this versus what the cost of it is? Service is customer service, but it's also just your service, period. Respect and value of the money spent, and that goes back to quality, but respect is a big thing Do you respect your customers, right? I mean, a customer, if they're buying from you, I think they probably have just a basic level of respect, but it's also how you interact with your customers, and do you respect them? That's extremely important, and I definitely appreciate. I think as a small business, you tend to hopefully have more respect for your customers because they're not as vast, and so there should just be that. Um, Default level of respect that you give, because you, again, as a small business, you really rely on every single customer to keep shit in motion. Um, access, accessing being able to access your product, being able to access your varieties, being able to um, am I and am I able to consistently access that product or that service, right? Is it something that you just had a onesie twosie of, or is it something that you can repeat? And it's also, can you repeat your good business, right? If you are good the first time, the second time, are you trash? The third time, are you non-existent? Like, when I talk about access, it's that turnaround for what I want, but it's also, are you able to consistently do that thing? Okay. Relatability, like I mentioned earlier. Do I walk in there and do I see people like me? And I'm more mindful of that now when I go out and I consume than I was before. Most simply because of the business that I'm in. But it's definitely something that I consider more is, can I relate to this shit? Do I even know what their brand stands for? Does it stand for anything? Right? Do they, besides some picture of something, what the fuck is their brand? What does the shit even mean? And if I can't tell, then I can't fucking relate, because I can't figure it out for you, right? It's your shit, so I can't be the one trying to figure it out. So that relatability is something that I absolutely think about every time I walk into somebody else's business, or even when I'm looking online at businesses. It's the first thing I'm looking at is can I relate? Because do I see anything that looks like me? And who are they speaking to? And then demand. That's a big one for me. Demand. It's like I said about being parsimonious and conservative. My thought about that is, do I need this shit or do I just want it? Period. And I talk myself out of buying shit 7 days a week, because it's like, I like that shit, but do I need it? Hell no. Okay, fuck it then. Bye. I don't need it. Move along. And if I want to waste my time and money on it at another time, sure. But if, when I'm trying to pinch pennies and crunch dollars, darling, I do a quick, fast, and in a hurry assessment about the value and the worth of your shit, and, even do some cost assessment in my mind, based on what your retail is, but also based on what the fuck you are willing to cut your costs to when you discount some shit. Then I go even further into my mind about what the fuck your cost could possibly be. I also tell people this: when you are looking at a small business and you're thinking, oh, well, them charging $60 for a sweater, them charging $100 for a sweater, or $40 for a hat, and you're thinking about that as from a small business perspective, and then you think about a larger business brand that charges you the same amount. Make no mistake, that larger business or brand or organization could have bought 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 units of a thing. When you buy 100,000 units of something, it costs you pennies on the dollar, depending on what it is. When you buy 100 of something, the shit costs a whole lot more money, period. So when you're thinking that a small business is making so much money because they're charging the same as big business, hell no. That big business is still charging a whole bunch of money, and guess what? Their costs are a fraction of what this other business's costs are. And again, from a business perspective, I have to think, well, shit, it's not just the cost of it, it's all the motherfucking employees that they have to pay to do X, Y, and Z. Well, yeah, true. But then you can also look at their profits. If a business who has 10,000 employees and who's buying 100,000 units of some shit, who's charging $70 for it, can give its CEO and its executives big ass bonuses, guess what, friends? They're not fucking losing. Period. Their margins are much fucking higher than any small business. So when you're bitching and you're moaning about the local X or the small business this, consider the fact that when you go out and you pay retail or even you pay sale price for a large brand shit, guess what, friend? You being fucking half. Them is the facts. Do the fucking math. You can research yourself how much some wholesale shit costs and then how much that shit costs your ass. And also think about, say you do some research and do research for 10,000 units of some shit. Do some research about 100,000 units of some shit. And then see what they selling it for in the stores. And then think about who getting rich. It ain't the fucking small business person, i.e. why it's a small fucking business. Period. So don't bitch and moan about the people doing small business charging what they charge. Bitch and moan when you went out there and you spent $50 on some shit that cost a motherfucker $2 to make it. That's the rob. The rob ain't the nigga in the hood. The rob is your ass going out and paying that kind of money for some shit that didn't cost a motherfucker but $2 hot ass dollars to make. And he paid the motherfucker who made it 10 cents. Shit. Nah. That's the business, friends. And that's a very small dose of what I got to say about business. So this is time for me to plug myself because this has gone longer than I wanted to. It's Goldface Family all day, every day. I fuck with me and mine, period. And I'll say this, and I like to keep it gold from the top to the bottom. From me at the top to every other appendage of this business that does something for me. I like to keep it gold. Why? Because I know there's very few other businesses that's going to do the same damn thing. And I want my people to know their value. I want my people to be able to demand their worth. And a way to do that is to support a business that supports you. So it's like I said on my Instagram, you know, before you make your next purchase, research the board of directors and see what the board of directors looks like. Because the board of directors ultimately for every business is the top. That's the top. And look at that board and see, is anybody on that board look like you? And I don't mean they got the same sex organs either. I mean, do they look like you? Do they look like your mama? Do they look like your daddy? Do they look like your granny? Do they look like your kids? Do they look like how your kids might look in the future? If there's nobody on that board of directors that looks like you, then you should think to yourself, are they marketing to me? If you think yes, your ass is sadly mistaken. Period. They don't give a fuck about you. You're just a silly ass motherfucker who is lining their pockets. If they don't look like you, you're not the fucking target customer. Period. And that's more true for big companies that have 5, 6, 8 people on their board of directors. You know why? Because that's 5 or 8 fucking opportunities they have to get somebody that looks like what the planet is made up of, which is variety. So if you're constantly buying shit from an organization, entity, business, whatever, where no fucking body on the board of directors looks like you, and then you go out in the community and you wonder why your ass get paid less or why you're valued less, well, because you line in the pockets of the motherfucker who makes sure that you stay in your fucking position under them. So be mindful of that shit. Be intentional about what the fuck you do with your money and who you spend it with. Do some damn research so that you don't keep lining the pockets of the motherfucker who's standing on your fucking back and telling you to get the fuck up at the same time. And that shit is true in most things that your ass is going to get into. Okay? So, this Goldface Family. This is Airin Out with Ariel. This is the business episode. And, you know, prayerfully, I won't take hella weeks to do the next episode. So, because I wanted to take, I don't know, go do something, not, I wouldn't say different, but just on some lighterness, although business can be light sometimes. I want to do love, sex, or food, period. So this is my jar. I actually painted. It was clear last time, but I painted it because to add more discretion. But I'm going to pick one, shake one out. And so it's love, sex, or food. And obviously there's a shit. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into any one of those, but whichever one it is what I will be doing the next podcast on. And then in the meantime, in the interim, before the actual podcast, I'll post some polls and things like this. Oh shit, it's food. Okay, it's like one of my top 5 loves is food. Yes. So that's that, friends. Like I said, our next podcast will be about food, and this was about business. So I am happy to be back with y'all. Like I said, like, subscribe, comment carefully. And follow us on IG, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and get on our fucking website and check us out. You know what I'm saying? We got shit for you, your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your grandkids, your kids, your cousins, your ex-husband. It doesn't matter. Get on there, check us out. We got some new shit. We got some tracksuits. We have our hoodies, we got our tees, we got some masks because you should still be wearing your mask. And quite frankly, y'all, even if you ain't wearing a mask for the 1 night, it's a lot of coughing ass, nasty ass folks just breathing air that you don't fucking want on you. So if I had to wear a mask for another year, I don't give a fuck because I will. So we got some masks for you. Even if you just like it for decorative purposes, do that too. And then we got beanies because it's cold as fuck outside. Some places it's colder than others, but everybody could use a beanie, right? And even guess what? Even if it ain't cold, some of you weird shaped motherfuckers need a beanie. Weird shaped head motherfuckers need a beanie. So check us out, and also because the spring's coming up, and I'm dumb excited to design some spring shit. I got some shit already, in my mind and on paper, and I'm excited to do, the next season. I love spring because I feel like it's time where you sort of brighten up and things get ready for summer to sort of blossom. So I really look at the spring as a time to like plant a seed and get ready for things to grow. And so I'm actually very excited for March and April and May. I'm really excited for that time in these next couple months to see how things come together and sort of get in motion. So yeah, make sure that you're checking us out. Everything pretty much is Goldface Family. You GoldfaceFamily.com, Goldface Family on our YouTube, Goldface Family Apparel on our IG, Goldface Family #1, just the #1. On our Twitter, and then obviously at Facebook is Goldface Family. Check us out. Give me feedback if there's something specific or particular that you would like me to discuss about food. I would love to hear what you got to say so that I can gear my discussion towards you all. So like I said, check us out, and this will, it'll be up because you'll be watching it. So until next time, friends. And on this one, until next time, friends.